Welcome. Thanks for joining me, likely. That letting go is freedom. I would like to explore what this means a little bit. What are we letting go of? Well, ultimately, we're letting go of life, so-called life and death. So in Zen, we talk about solving the problem of life and death. Essentially, this letting go is a clue to what this is all about. So when we refer to letting go, we're talking about conceptualization of perceptions that we assume are real. We perceive, we think what we're perceiving is real, and then we make some sort of conception about it. Nick, I used you as an example not too long ago, talking about stepping in a puddle and being a fool. And I love that story for many reasons, because quite often I step in a puddle, get myself all wet, feel like an idiot for doing it. So, all these things that we go through and we hold on to them, and they make an impression on us about who we are. This is what I'm talking about letting go of. The impression you have of yourself, of your life, of your world, of your nation, of your family, of your relatives, all of these things become a burden. So there's lots of different ways of dying. Some people die fearfully. Some people die unable to resolve these regrets that they have about their lives. So letting go is freedom. What does that mean for you? What is it in your life that you need to let go of in order to be free? In the Heart Sutra, it says all dharmas have the character of emptiness. They are neither pure nor impure. They don't increase, neither do they decrease. Therefore, in emptiness, there's no form, no feelings, no perceptions. Now, this is really difficult for us because when I say letting go is freedom, we think we're letting go of something that is there for us. We identify with it as either belonging to us, something we want to hold on to, something, even if we want to let go of it, we find it really difficult. So I don't want to dive into psychology here, you know, about the makeup of our uh, emotional and psychological selves and profile you or myself. I'm just talking about not identifying so strongly with these things so you can move more freely without them affecting you so much. So we say the past is gone, but really, is it really gone for us? It can be, but it keeps coming back, doesn't it? Sort of to haunt us a little bit. past regrets, past attitudes we have, all these things. The beauty of our practice, beauty of Zen, is its non-dualistic nature. It's not about the past, present, and the future. It's freedom. Suchness, just this. So I can talk about it, but it may not make any sense until you experience for yourself what this is. So we attempt in our practice to just sit and be with ourselves and let things go as they come up. And this practice helps us in our broader sense in our lives let go of those things that are really getting in the way by just this simple little technique of coming back to our breath, paying attention, and seeing what's there. There's a lot of information. I mean, Buddhism is full of tools and explanations about what this is in terms of the whole experience of being a human being. So there's lots of things you can read about and you can look at and intellectually understand. But when it comes right down to it, you have to become Buddha. You have to be your Buddha, the Buddha you already are, just here, right now, just the way you are. So good luck. All I can say is that I keep stepping in those puddles all the time. And one of the things that works for me is recognizing that in this Heart Sutra, it's Kuan Yin or Avalokitesvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, that is explaining to us what this is. What is emptiness? What are we letting go of? What is there to let go of? All of this is very clearly put down here for us to understand. Now, I've been reciting this Heart Sutra for many years. Do I understand it? Maybe a little bit, but I'm open to it, you see. I've become more and more understanding that this really is a true teaching, that it really has great value to how I understand life. And it's something that's a great blessing, and we should really appreciate having it in our lives, even though it takes us, what, 5 minutes to read it here in the beginning of our sessions. The Heart Sutra really succinctly explains what it is we're going through. So wonderful, wonderful that you've discovered this path, and how, whether you're just tipping your toe into it or whether you've been practicing for 30 or 40 years, it doesn't really make a difference, because this great teaching, this great wisdom, this illumination is here for all of us, and it is essentially already there in our nature. So we're really just discovering ourselves as we come across these teachings that are really just teaching us about something we already are. So, you know, on one hand, we're all ignorant beings. On the other hand, there is no such thing. We say we want to save all sentient beings. How do we do that? Don't complicate it. Don't make it too complicated. Don't go down the rabbit hole of trying to understand intellectually what this is all about. Just be present to this moment, the only moment you really have, with your whole capacity. And just when you step in that puddle, recognize what's happening. That's all it takes. And the next time, maybe you can avoid it. There's a teaching about a guy that keeps falling into a hole over and over again. Eventually, he recognizes that the hole is there. Oh, there's that hole. Nope, I'm not going to fall in it this time. But as he's leaning over, looking into the hole, he falls in. So then the next time he comes across it, I'm not getting close to that hole. Backs up and he falls into it backwards. So he keeps falling into this hole until one day he just walks right around it and keeps going. What's the difference there? What was he paying attention to all that time? The hole. When was he letting go and being free? Just kept walking. So just keep walking. All right. ah, so there it is, I guess. Any comments or questions today? Yeah. Blindsided by, like you say, it's kind of bigger than us in the moment. And there are lots of times I wish I had just hesitated, stopped, and given it a moment to settle before I acted. But sometimes I act foolishly without really recognizing the consequence of my action. So it happens. And I think the lessons there are so different for each of us, of course, but we're never really free of this karmic experience of life while we're in it. And it sneaks up on us, our habitual sort of way of seeing things and just act on that rather than, oh, wait a minute, you know? So, yeah. So even though I've been sitting for 30 years, I've jumped in that same puddle all the time. I'm glad. Yeah. So um, when this comes up for me, um, how do I let go of this? There was a reason that I brought up the Heart Sutra and Kuan Yin, the Bodhisattva of compassion. So sometimes my only recourse is to recognize that these kinds of stumbles and attachments to ideas about what is happening, instead of being clear, like your mind being clear like space around this, whatever the issue is. The only way to get there for me in any sort of semblance of clarity is by invoking compassion for the situation, myself, and everyone involved. I mean, what's done is done. So now I can't change that. I could justify it. I can rationalize it. I can talk about it till I'm blue. I can bring up all kinds of dharmic teachings about it, all of that. But for me, the only way to actually, for me, myself, to get through it is to be a compassionate being about it for myself and for whoever else is being affected by it. I think, even chanting like in the Korean Kwansam Boso, which is just a Korean way of saying Avalokitesvara or Kuan Yin, and just repeating that to myself a few times kind of changes the vibration that I'm caught up in. So sometimes we need a little help, right? Sometimes it's really difficult to just get through it. And what we're getting through of course, is, you know, yeah, it's our own creation. But just saying that and recognizing it intellectually isn't helping us. So walking around the hall is a very compassionate thing to do. Does that make sense? I'm going to tell a little story now. We just had this flood. Here we are in Florida, and we've had a major rainstorm in Sarasota, 17 inches of rain in 24 hours. I was totally surrounded by water. The water came within a half an inch of coming into the house. So, I mean, literally, I'm totally surrounded by water. The only way to get up and down the street is in a boat. So we live on a lake. And years ago, I got a statue of Kuan Yin, about 3 feet tall, made out of this sort of plastic, looks like concrete stuff. I got it because it was left in a building in a condo that my sister-in-law was buying in a bedroom, just left there by the previous owners. So I asked her, what are you going to do with this? And she said, you want it? You can have it. So Kuan Yin came into my life. I put the statue in my backyard next to a bush. And when you look out the back door, you can see it. So one day I got this idea, it's really dark in the backyard. We don't have any lights back there. I'm going to go get some solar lights and light the place up. So I lit it up, just these three little small 50-watt lights connected to a little solar panel. And over the years, the lights broke one after the other, except for the one that lit up the Kuan Yin. It never broke. It lit every night, no matter what. So now we have this flood. Everything is covered. There's debris everywhere. I'm thinking, the light's shot. There's no way when the water recedes that Kuan Yin is going to light back up. Well, she did. So for me, my heart just kind of went, oof. Symbolically to me, was really interesting. Now, there's all kinds of rational and scientific reasons why this may have happened, but for me, it was symbolic. Kuan Yin is always there, always lit. The light of Kuan Yin never can be put out. So there you go. That's the story. She's still lit. Don't know why, don't know how, but it works. So we don't need to know why or how. We just have to know it works. Okay? Thank you. Anything else today? No? We good? All right. Thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate it. Have a good week if I don't see you till next Sunday. Otherwise, we'll see you Wednesday.